Hello, Math Wizards. Welcome to a new lesson episode of Just Math PH. So today we will be learning a new method in solving quadratic equations. But first, let's have a review on the methods or ways that we discussed on how to solve quadratic equation. So solutions to quadratic equations can be solved by extracting square roots, which we already discussed, and the Vedic method. Now, extracting square roots is specifically used when your quadratic equation has no linear term. Okay? Remember, it's only applicable if your quadratic equation has no linear term. So better to use extracting square roots. Now, if your quadratic equation is factorable, it can be easily solved using Vedic method. Now, for the third technique or method in solving quadratic equation, this is actually what we call the general method in solving quadratic equation because it can be used to solving any quadratic equation. Okay, any quadratic equation can be solved using quadratic formula. However, I encourage you to use this one to non-factorable quadratic equation. So what is then a quadratic formula? So a quadratic formula is given by this equation. So x is equal to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So a, b, and c are actually the coefficients of our quadratic equation. Now again, quadratic formula can be used to solve any quadratic equation. However, I encourage you to use this formula to those quadratic equations which are non-factorable. Check if it can't be used or solved by extracting square root. Check if it can be solved using Vedic method. So if the two methods cannot be used to solve those quadratic equation, then we have to use the quadratic formula. So here is an example. Let's solve this quadratic equation. X squared minus 3x plus 1 equals 0. So again, check if it can be used using, if it can be solved using extracting square root. So obviously it's not because we have the linear term here, negative 3x. So extracting square root cannot be used. How about the Vedic method? Now, let's check if it's factorable. So identify our A, B, and C. So our A is 1, our B is negative 3, and our C is positive 1. Now, A times C is 1, and then we have to find two numbers that when multiplied is 1, but if we have to add them, it would be negative 3. So can you think of two numbers that when multiplied it would be 1 and when adding them it will be negative 3. So obviously these numbers do not exist. Therefore, x squared minus 3x is not factorable. We cannot use the Vedic method. So let's use the quadratic formula in this case. Solving this quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, so I suggest you memorize or you familiarize this formula. So since we already determined the values of A, B, and C, we could directly substitute these values to the formula. So let's do it. So substituting it, we have copy x equals negative b So our b here is negative 3. So we have to place negative 3 inside the parentheses. Okay, so negative is, we just copy this sign here, negative, and then the b is the negative 3 that we have here. Then copy plus minus square root of b squared. So negative 3 squared minus 4 times, it means we have to multiply this factors. So negative 4a and c. So negative 4 times 1 times, extend the squared symbol, times 1, which is our c. Our c is 1. Then all over 2a. All over 2a. Our a is 1. And then let's simplify this. That is equivalent to x equals negative times negative 3, that is positive 3, plus minus square root of, what is negative 3 to the power of 2? So it means negative 3 times negative 3. So that is positive 9. And then negative 4 times 1 times 1, that is negative 4. All over 2 times 1 is 2. Okay. Now let's copy x equals 3 plus minus 9 minus 4 is equivalent to 5 over 2. So we cannot extract any more 5 because that is already a non-perfect number. We cannot have a factor here that is perfect, so it remains as a square root of 5. So what are the roots then? The roots are the following. The roots are the solutions. We have here 3 plus square root of 5 all over 2, and the other one is 3 minus square root of 5 all over 2. Here's the next example, 2x squared plus 5x equals negative 1. Obviously, this quadratic equation is not written in the standard form, so we have to write it to the standard form. So that is 2x squared plus 5x. Then we have to transfer negative 1 to the left side, so that becomes positive 1 equals 0. Let's find the roots for this quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. So let's write the quadratic formula. That is x is equal to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if our variable here is not x, let's say y, so we have to write here y, not x. If our variable here is, let's say z, we have to use z here, not x. Okay? So let's first determine the value of a, b, and c here. So our a is 2, our b is 5, and our c is 1. So substituting them, x is equal to negative 5 plus minus square root of b squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4, a is 2, and then c is 1 all over 2 times 2. Our a is 2. Now let's simplify this one. So that is negative 5 plus minus square root of 5 squared is 5 times 5. So that is 25. So negative 4 times 2, that is negative 8. Negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. All over 4 because 2 times 2 is 4. So let's simplify that one. So negative 5 plus minus square root of 25 minus 8, that is 17 over 4. Okay? Now, we cannot simplify square root of 17 anymore because 17 is a non-perfect number and there is no perfect factor for 17. So, we can write now the roots. Our roots here are negative 5 plus minus square root of 17 over 4. Okay, I will separate that into 2. So that's plus, and the other one is negative 5 minus square root of 17 over 4.